Morning Date. Welcome to another edition of Morning Date, when we get to meet with amazing figures from all walks of life. And today, oh my goodness, what a treat. I have the pleasure of sitting down with none other than Mr. Darcy Paquet, whose English translation of director Bong Joon-ho's movie Parasite is widely attributed to the film's international appeal. Welcome to the studio.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for making the time to be here, first of all.
Oh, yes.
And am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, good.
I pronounce it like an American. So.
All right. Well, you know, we have so much to say, but let me first of all go over some of your accolades, because you have so many. You are not only the translator of this film, but many films, over 150 in fact, when it comes to Korean films. You've worked on 설국열차의 경우에는 이제 시나리오로 영어로 번역하는 작업도 함께 맡아주셨고요. 봉준호 감독님의 대부분의 영화를 또 이제 번역을 하셨습니다. 뿐만 아니라 박찬욱 감독님의 아가씨, 또 나홍진 감독님의 곡성 등 150편 이상의 한국 영화를 이제 영어 자막화하는 그 작업을 맡아주셨고요. 현재 또 교수님으로 재직 중이시고, 네, 굉장히 많은 직함을 가지고 계십니다. 그래서 제가 음악 나가는 동안에 선생님 아닌가요? 박사님 어떻게 부르면 좋을까요? 라고 제가 고민을 좀 했는데 다 좋다고 하셨습니다.
네, 선생님.
선생님. 네, 알겠습니다. 자, 그러면 오늘은 그래서 Darcy Paquet 선생님과 함께 인터뷰를 좀 나눠볼 텐데요. 아무래도 지금 제일 화제가 되고 있는 것은 기생충이니까 이 얘기부터 한번 시작을 해볼게요. 언제부터 얼마의 기간 동안 번역을 하셨나요?
Should I speak in English?
English would be fine. That would be better, actually, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've known the director for a long time, and I knew that he was preparing this film, and so I was waiting excitedly for the phone to ring. And so I began translating this in February. Mm-hmm. Actually, I received the screenplay first, and so I had a chance to read through and to get a sense of the story.
Right.
And everybody's worried about spoilers. Actually, for me, I knew everything before I saw the film.
Exactly.
But even so, you know, seeing the film, you know, as it was realized for the first time, just even on my computer, it was a very impressive experience. And so I got very excited when I watched it. And when you work on translation, you're not really supposed to talk about it with anybody else.
Exactly.
So I had to kind of bottle it up inside me for a few months. But
2월 달에 처음에 원고를 받으시고 또 번역 작업을 시작하셨으면은 이게 이제 발표가 되고 칸 영화제에서 상영될 때까지 여러 달 동안 내용을 다 훤히 알고 계시면서 아무한테도 말을 못한 거잖아요. I mean, that must have been very difficult.
And my friends would sometimes ask me, like, you know, can't you give me a hint, like what it's like, you know, and I could smile and I could show them
Right.
that it's a good film, but I couldn't really say anything beyond that.
Right. I'm guessing you must have been under some sort of contract not to.
Yeah, I signed a non-disclosure agreement.
There you go, absolutely. As we all do, you know, when we translate things of that level. But I mean, you said right from the moment you got the script, 이게 좀 감이 왔다. 이런 말씀을 하셨어요. 상 탈 것 같았나요?
I thought that it would. You know, it's such a well-made film and it's so unique. It's hard to think of any other film, not only from director Bong's own filmography, but more broadly. Like in international cinema, there are very few directors making this kind of film. And he has a very unique mix of humor and suspense. And everything is so well made. You know, he's famous for the details that he puts into his films. But so every time you watch the film, you're discovering new things.
Right. And you've watched this film a number of times, haven't you?
Yes. Well, in the course of translating it, the more you watch it, the better the subtitles get. And so, yeah, I had to go through it quite a few times.
I read somewhere that you watched it 7 times as you were translating it.
Yes, 7 times then. and then later I went back and saw it in the theater, so it's 8 times now.
8번이나 보셨군요. 번역하는 작업에서만 이제 영화를 7번을 보셨다 하셨는데, 이 칸네에서 발표를 했던 그 당시, where were you when this announcement was being made?
Well, because of the time difference, it was 3 a.m. or so in the morning.
Right.
And so
were you in your bedroom watching it on the television?
I was actually following it on my phone.
Okay, yeah. And what were your thoughts?
I mean, basically, I was just, I knew that it had some potential and, I'd been following all the critics in the previous week when the film was first screened, and then also all these, articles that were coming out predicting what might win.
Right.
And there were a couple strong contenders, and so it certainly wasn't a done deal by any sense, but there was a good feeling that, this was the movie that everybody was talking about, and as long as the jury kind of matched the overall mood of.
So was it like a surreal moment when this announcement was made?
It was. I've been following Korean cinema for over 20 years, and every year I again follow what's happening at the Cannes Film Festival, and I've always wondered, when might it be that a Korean film would actually win the top award? And Korean movies have come close over the years. I mean, Old Boy won the #2 prize.
Right, exactly.
Back in 2004, and a couple of movies by Lee Chang-dong have been very well received, and I think, maybe could have received the award if they'd had a different, combination of jury members in that year. But to have Bong Joon-ho win it, I mean, for this film too, I'm really excited because this really kind of showcases a lot of the strengths of Korean cinema. And I think that with the award, this movie's going to get an extra push when it opens in other countries around the world. So,
like America later this year?
Yeah. In October, it's scheduled to come out in the US, and I'm really excited to see just how big it goes in the US.
You're from America,
Yes,
I presume. Do your family and friends know that you took part in this mega movie?
It's funny. In February, I was back in the States at my parents' home. My family and I all went back together, but actually, throughout much of the vacation, I was at the kitchen table, like typing on my computer. My mother was like, "What are you working on?" I'm like, "It's a really big film, trust me." And then, so now that she's reading all the news articles about it, she's like, now I understand.
그 처음에 번역을 할 때 미국에 가서 부모님 그 부엌에서 또 작업을 좀 하셨군요. 그때 부모님이 뭐 하고 있는 거냐 했을 때 이제. 그때는 말을 못했지만 이제는 말할 수 있다. 이게 봉준호 감독님의 기생충이었다라고 이제 말씀을 해주셨습니다. 그러면은 이제 구체적으로 번역한 작업에 대해서 좀 몇 가지 얘기를 해볼게요. 사실 영화를 저도 굉장히 재밌게 봤거든요. 그런데 한국적인 요소가 많아요. There are some really Korean elements to this film, and I'm just imagining it must have been very hard to translate. How did you approach certain things like 짜파구리, which is like 그 뭐 짜장면과 너구리 뭐 합친 거잖아요.
Right.
이거 굉장히 한국적인 건데 이런 거라든지 아니면은 그 뭐 반지하 뭐 서울대 뭐 위조 전문학과 없냐 이런 거 다 우리는 이해하지만 외국인들은 이해할 수 없잖아요. 이거 어떻게 번역하셨나요?
It was sort of a case-by-case thing. And so in certain circumstances, like depending on what appears on the screen and what the viewers can see as well as hear, I was able to present it in a way that wasn't too difficult to follow. And so, for example, like 하객진, later in the film, one of the characters, mentions this crane's wing formation that was used by, Admiral Lee Sun-shin. And luckily with that one, there was enough kind of explanation in the dialogue that I didn't really need to add too much to it.
Of course, there's the visuals as well. So
right,
some
and she
things
kind
you
of
can just
stretches
see.
out her hands in the same way. And so even though this was a very Korean word, I think because of the context, it wasn't too hard to translate. There were other ones that were more of a challenge. I think 짜파구리 was
and
really
you
hard
translated that as
I was
ramdon,
embarrassed when I said it, ramdon.
which is actually very easy to understand for an English speaker because it's like ramen and udon, right?
Yeah, although I think the first time it appears in the dialogue, probably people won't know what it is because the first mention of it is during a phone call.
Yeah,
and
the mother.
Right,
says,
and then the mother. Luckily, one of the characters says like, what is ramdon?
Exactly, yeah, and that must have helped.
Which gives a bit of a clue to the audience that this is a special word and like not a typical word. But then when she's cooking it, a couple scenes later. The packages are on the screen, and so we're able to put above the packages ramen and udon. And of course, it's not ramen and udon, it's 짜파구리 and noguri, but giving the sense of instant noodles kind of combined together into
국제적으로 좀
unique dish.
알려진 것을 가미하기 위해서 그런 표현을 쓰셨다. 근데 다행히도 그 대사 자체에서 그 조여정 씨가 그러잖아요. 아줌마 저 8분 후에 도착하는데요. 짜파구리 좀 만들어 놓으세요. 그래서 예 알겠습니다 사모님. 그 끊고 나서 야 짜파구리가 뭐야? 막 이래서 네, 그래서 저도 생각이 납니다. 그래서 그런 것도 이제 번역하면서 참 재밌었을 것 같아요. 근데 7번이나 영화를 봤는데 번역은 몇 번이나 이제 그 리바이즈를 하셨나요?
Well, by myself, I did it 3 or 4 times, I guess.
Okay.
And then I sent it to the production company. They sent me back an email with some suggestions for changes. And then in the final process, after I got back to Seoul, we arranged a meeting with the director and the producer and several members of the international team at CJ, and we all sat together in a room and we watched the movie.
Right.
Kind of went over it line by line. And so that took 2 days in total, but
Oh wow.
we were able to discuss the more difficult translations and kind of come together to a joint decision.
It sounds like a very big process.
Yeah, I mean, I think to get good subtitles, you need kind of a good system behind it, in addition to someone who can translate it well. So
And with more than 150 movie translations under your belt, obviously you are the master of this sort of work and the best choice for them to go to. When we come back after a song break, we'll talk more about your work and the movie as well. This is Ace of Base, The Sign. We're back with Morning Date, and I'm joined in the studio by Mr. Darcy Paquet, 교수님, 선생님, 그리고 영화 평론가님이시기도 하시고요. 원래 이제 영어 전문가시니까 사실은 어떻게 보면 일반 사람들보다는 영화에 대한 그 폭넓은 이해도 있으시고 실제로 지금 부산에서 그 뭐라 그럴까요? novice producer, 영화 프로듀서들을 또 가르치는 그런 일도 하시는데 tell us about your teaching experience and how that goes hand in hand with the Korean translating.
yeah, I really enjoy teaching in Busan. It's a new school that was launched just 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's called the Busan Asian Film School. And it's an international school. So they actually provide a scholarship to young producers from all different parts of Asia who come into Busan and stay for 6 months.
Wow.
And all of them are developing projects. Many of them are international co-productions, and they're looking to learn as much as they can when they're here, but also to form kind of this network so that they can work together in the future. And everybody loves film, and it's so exciting to be able to teach just a group of people from all over. We have students from Afghanistan and Pakistan and Bangladesh and all
You could be
kinds of.
raising the future Bong Joon-ho.
It really feels like that, because they're so smart and they're so passionate about cinema that I really think many of them are going to go on to kind of accomplish great things.
네, 3년 전에 개설된 학과인데요. 부산에서 이제 세계적인 영화 감독을 꿈꾸고 있는 그런 이제 루키 감독님들을 가르치시는 작업을 하시는데 같이 뭐 원고도 쓰시고 그다음에 영화에 대한 전반적인 이게 뭐 가르치시는 거지만 사실은 이제 주고받는 게 참 많으시다 그런 말씀을 아까 좀
I learned a
해주셨어요.
lot from them, to be honest.
굉장히 또 겸손하신 것 같습니다. Now, let's talk about some of your views on Korean movies as well. Do you think that with Parasite winning the top prize at the Palme d'Or, we've stepped into new territory perhaps?
It does sort of feel like that. I mean, it has been really interesting to watch the Korean film industry develop over the past 20 years or so. And, in the past few years, a lot of critics have been concerned about the state of creativity in particular, because even though the industry is very successful commercially, the process of making films has become very systematized.
Right.
And
Very much like K-pop.
Yeah, it's. People use the word factory sometimes to describe, even though, filmmaking is a very complicated process and, huge numbers of people involved. It is really important to kind of protect the creative aspect of a production.
Sure.
And, Bong Joon-ho is an example of a director who, because of his fame and his past success, he has a great deal of creative freedom. He's working with some of the biggest commercial companies in the film industry, but he nonetheless has absolute control over what he's doing, and he's able to shoot the film that he wants to shoot. And the fact that he's been so successful, I think it does send a message in a way, because last year was not a good year for the film industry. There were a lot of big budget productions that did not do well at all,
Right.
and that fell far short of expectations.
Was that because of the lack of creativity, do you think?
I got a sense that the audience was starting to feel frustrated. And so with certain films, the audience was very, very harsh with their criticism. And I think they wouldn't have been as harsh maybe 5 years ago, but there's a sense
Right.
that they've been watching similar films
Yeah.
for quite a while.
With
they
better
wanted something
films, you
new.
get harsher critics.
Yeah, yeah. And the Korean audience, I think it is a strength that, Korean audience members are so critical because it keeps producers on their toes.
네.
But the fact that, Parasite has been so commercially successful as well. Hopefully people will draw the right conclusions from this and
Right.
kind of give other directors the opportunity to really push themselves and to try something really different.
맞아요. 그러니까 상업적으로 성공적인 한국 영화는 그동안에도 굉장히 많았지만 어떻게 보면은 이 창의적인 면에서는 봉준호 감독님이 이번에 기생충을 통해서 새로운 좀 장을 열었다 이렇게 보시는 것 같습니다. 정말 어떤 장르로도 분류를 하기 힘든 영화잖아요. 이게 뭐 블랙 휴먼지 아니면은 스릴러인지 뭔지 서스펜스인지 약간 힘든데 그런데 해외 언론에서도 이건 그냥 봉준호 영화다 이렇게 얘기를 하더라고요.
Yes, there was a review that came out, I believe it was from IndieWire, which is one of the leading media outlets in the US centered
Yeah.
on film. And the critics said, in the past you could look at his films and say that it was kind of started from a certain genre and then he did all this experimentation. He turned it into a different kind of film. But in this case, it's simply a Bongjoon-ho film.
Yeah.
That's the new genre.
It's a 봉준호. I love that.
Yeah.
And the translation is Darcy Paquet, I have to say. Let's talk about your time in Korea because you've been here many decades.
Yes, I arrived just before the IMF crisis in
In the
1997.
late 90s.
Yeah, so I was able to see a lot in my time here.
네, 90년대 말에 이제 선생님이 처음에는 고려대에서 영어 강의를 하시면서 한국 생활을 시작한 걸로 제가 알고 있어요.
네.
How did that lead to where you are now?
It's one of those lucky cases where I had a hobby and I worked at it hard and then got lucky enough to have it turn into my profession. So initially I was in Korea and anxious to learn more about the culture, and also I was studying the language. And as a film fan, I started watching Korean movies,
Right.
even though I couldn't understand much of what I was seeing at the beginning. But and the late 90s were a time when a lot of interesting movies were coming out. I could sense that from my students as well. I would ask them about Korean cinema, and they would say, actually, they were kind of negative on Korean cinema at the time. They'd say, most of them are really boring, but then they would point out a few films to me that for them felt very new.
Right.
And it was kind of a sign that the industry was changing and that this kind of new guard of directors were coming in. And so at the time, I used to go online looking for information in English about Korean films, and there was nothing online at all. And so finally, I decided just to start my own website.
Which is koreanfilm.org.
Yes, it still exists. I'm not able to update it quite as much as I used to back in the day, but that was really the starting point for me because suddenly a lot of people in other countries were starting to get curious about Korean cinema and they wanted to learn more. And when they searched on Google, they found my website.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that happened to me was I got an email from a British film trade magazine, Screen International. And they asked me to work as a journalist for them, like writing news about the Korean film industry. And that was the moment where it stepped from a hobby into a
Right.
profession.
20년도 더 됐네요. 한국에 처음 오신 지. 그때는 이제 대학생들에게 영어를 가르치면서 워낙 영화를 좋아하셔서 이제 영화에 대한 얘기를 학생들과도 나누고 그랬는데 이제 영어로 된 한국 영화 사이트가 마땅한 게 없어서 내가 만들자. 이렇게 생각을 하셔가지고 만든 게 바로 koreanfilm.org입니다. 여러분 지금 당장 가서 찾아보세요. 그래서 선생님이 이걸 만드셨고 그 다음에는 이제 one thing led to another. 그래서 많은 곳에서 영화 관련된 또 일을 하시면서 지금의 이 자리까지 오시게 된 겁니다. 그래서 영화를 가르치시고 또 영화 번역을 많이 하시고 자문으로도 역할을 맡고 계시고 에디팅 등등. 그 다음에는 이제 들꽃 영화상 집행위원장이라는 타이틀도 가지고 계신데요. 이 얘기는 우리가 노래 듣고 와서 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. This is Wonderful Life by Black. You're listening to Morning Date here on Morning Special, and today I'm sitting down with Darcy Paquet 선생님, the translator of Parasite, 기생충의 영어 번역을 맡으신 Darcy Paquet 선생님과 함께 하고 있습니다. 외신에서도 굉장히 극찬을 한 영화지만 사실은 이게 영화 번역이 잘 되지 않았으면 그렇게 됐을까요? 봉준호 감독님도 굉장히 큰 역할을 다시 파켓 씨가 해주셨다 이렇게 말씀을 하신 걸로 제가 알고 있고요. 국내 전문가들도 숨은 주역이다 이렇게 얘기를 해주고 있습니다. 다시 파켓 선생님은 굉장히 많은 타이틀을 가지고 계신데요. 조금 전에 우리 노래 전에 말씀드린 들꽃 영화상 집행위원장이십니다. 이 얘기를 좀 나눠볼게요.
Yes, I mean, this was a project that it first kind of popped into my mind about 10 years ago. As someone who writes a lot about Korean films and does a lot of work, I watch as many Korean films as I can. And it was really around 2009 that a very large number of independent Korean films began to be released in theaters. And there were, a number of different reasons for that. But, you really get this sense from that point on that there were sort of two film industries in Korea. There's the mainstream film industry that's turning out commercial films and it's working with the very big budgets. But then a huge number of filmmakers as well who are working on very low budgets but are making very creative films.
Indie films?
Yeah. And so, they'd often get screened at film festivals, but they were also getting released in theaters. It's always a challenge to find audience members for low budget independent films, but they did exist. And so in 2009, I used to write this column for this for the Korean film weekly magazine, Shini Shibya. And it was the end of the year, and I was, watching like the Daejeongsang, the Grand Bell Awards, and the Blue Dragon Awards, the Chongnyeongsang. But all of them were really focused on big independent films or big
the
commercial
films. Yeah,
and I thought, it would be nice if there were an award ceremony that would focus more on the low budget productions. And, in thinking about it, there are examples from other countries, like the British Independent Film Awards is one example, or the Independent Spirit Awards in the US. And so at first I just wrote a column and I'd said, somebody should really do this. Korea needs this. And a lot of my friends read the column and they told me, why don't you do it? Nobody else is going to do it. So you step forward and take the initiative. And I thought about it for a few years and then finally decided that maybe I would give it a try.
Sure.
And I didn't have a lot of experience in that kind of work, but luckily a very established film critic, Oh Dong-jin, came in at an early stage and helped me get it set up. And so the two of us have been running it ever since. And we did our 6th edition at the beginning of April.
와우. 그러니까 대형 영화들을 위한 시상식은 이미 오래됐고 또 많이들 아시는데 이렇게 저예산 영화들을 위한 시상식도 있으면 좋겠다라는 생각을 한 10년 전에 처음 하셨고 그때는 그 당시에 시네21 칼럼을 통해서 이런 아이디어가 있다 이런 정도로만 기재를 하셨는데 그게 이제 현실이 됐어요. 그리고 이제 선생님이 거기에 실제 집행위원장으로 지금 일을 해주고 계십니다. 정말 대단한 그 한국 영화를 위한 일들을 많이 해주고 계시고 어떻게 보면 이제 20년이 됐으니까 사실 반은 한국 사람이라고 봐야 되지 않을까요? 한국 문화에 대한 이해가 굉장히 깊으신데.
I'm getting close to the point where half my life I will have been in Korea. And when I teach students, I also I teach Korean students in the summer as well. And many of them were born after I came to Korea. So it's a weird feeling.
그럴 수 있겠네요. 이게 90년대 말에 오셨으니까 지금 가르치는 학생 중에 일부는 그 이후에 태어나서
I've been in Korea longer than that.
그러네요. 요즘의 대학생들보다 훨씬 더 한국에 오래 사신 다시 선생님이십니다. 근데 이렇게 한국 문화를 많이 이해하시고 또 영화에 대해서 워낙 전문적인 지식을 가지고 계시고 또 업계에서 여러 일을 하셨기 때문에 이번에 이렇게 기생충의 훌륭한 번역 같은 게 나오지 않았나 싶거든요. 그 10년 전에 그 테드 토크를 또 하신 게 있더라고요. 봤는데 그때랑 지금이랑 한번 비교를 해보자면 how would you compare Korea to then and now?
Yeah, I mean, Korea has been very successful in many ways. We've seen different aspects of Korean pop culture, both in music and TV dramas have a tremendous reach. In that TED Talk, I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was basically about kind of the encouraging people to use film as a gateway between different cultures. And that, sometimes when you watch a film from a place that you've never visited, that even if you never end up going, it can form sort of a connection with that country. And so you have these images in your head from that country. And in doing my website, I had often, had these email exchanges with people who said that they had never been to Korea, but through Korean cinema, they had really developed a sense of what it was like and a deep interest in the country and the culture. And to me, that remains kind of my biggest motivating factor, I guess, is that I love the way that film can connect two different cultures together.
Yes.
And it serves as sometimes an inspiration to learn more. And so I do know people who became fans of Korean cinema and then later decided to study Korean and eventually to come to Korea to stay for a while. And so that's really, I guess, why I focus so strongly on film.
And what about 10 years from now? Where do you see Korean cinema going?
I mean, it's going to be a challenge, I think. I don't expect that Korean cinema will face any big crisis. Like, I don't predict some kind of... There are some people who are much more pessimistic about Korean cinema because of these issues I mentioned about creativity and the structure of the film industry. I don't see a big collapse, but I think that for Korean cinema to really reach its potential, that there needs to be a real effort to support creativity. Both in the independent film sector and then also in mainstream filmmaking as well.
창의성에 조금 더 초점을 맞추는 게 굉장히 중요하다라는 말씀을 시종일관 해주고 계십니다. 이번에 봉준호 감독님의 기생충이 어떻게 보면은 그걸 아주 잘 보여주는 창의적이지만 또 이제 그 commercially 상업적으로도 성공을 할 수 있는 그런 경우가 될 텐데 사실 기존에는 말씀해 주신 대로 상업적으로 성공을 하면 그렇게 크리에이티브하지는 않은 영화들이 많았어요. 근데 앞으로는 이제 10년 후 훨씬 더 많이 크리에이티브한 영화들이 나올 것이다. 더 그러면 좋겠다라는 그런 바람인 것 같습니다.
Yes, let's hope for that. Let's push for that as much as we can.
A personal question, how about yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself?
I don't see myself leaving Korea, in part because I've devoted so much time here and invested so much. And, learning Korean was so hard and it took me so long. To go to another country to start learning another language would be giving away too much. But yeah, I intend to continue staying here. I'm doing a lot of interesting work and it would be hard to give up a lot of the work I'm doing. So probably I'll
또
be...
선생님이 영화 제작도 하고 싶으시다는 얘기를 제가
It's
읽었어요.
true. Especially working with young producers these days at the Busan Asian Film School, it makes me curious to try producing myself. And it may happen sometime soon. I'm trying in my free time to push a couple things forward, but progress has been slow so far, but hopefully in the future
That sounds
that will be.
fantastic. 정말 기대가 많이 됩니다. Well, we're going to have to wrap up because can you believe it? Our time is up already. Time flies when you're having fun. But this last song is dedicated to you because just like your translations, nothing compares to you. That is the title of the song we're going to play. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, this is a pleasure.
네.